guys, this is Blake with the Three Hand Hunter channel, and I'm sure some of you, matter of fact, I bet a lot of you have wondered, should I seek out and hunt for a Seiko Spork SRP043? You've heard about how rare they are, how unique they are, and how big and bold they are, which they are. And you've wondered, should I really seek out and find one? And I wanted to tell you why I went and bought another one of these Seiko Sporks, and I plan on keeping this one in my collection long term. And I'm gonna tell you also the 4 different things that no one really tells you about the Spork before you actually own one. So this way, when you go out and you search for one, you'll have a better idea of what you're looking for and what you're dealing with when you get it. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I wish I didn't sell my first one. I had about 5 or 6 years ago, I found an SRP043K, which is the K version, which is the non-Japanese version, years ago. It was a full kit, had the tags and everything. I found it in Europe. I got it sent to me from like Italy or something. I just remember it did come from Europe and it wasn't in the UK. And I loved it. But then I got rid of it because I was like, I'll just get another one at, some other point. The prices aren't too different from when they were 5 or 6 years ago. I'll tell you that much. But this one wasn't a full kit. This one is a little unique, and it goes with one of the 4 things that no one tells you about the Spork, which I'll get into in a little bit. But I want to talk about some of the dimensions of the watch before I give you that list of 4 things that no one tells you about. So let me grab my calipers here, and let me tell you about this watch. Okay, here we go. All right, this watch is a 44.5 millimeter watch, okay? And it depends on how you're measuring it, but it's about 44 millimeters. It is a big watch, and it's very similar to the Seiko Tuna, where there's only a 20 millimeter lug width, okay? 20 millimeter lug width, and that's, it's a little bit further than that, 20 millimeters. So, it's one of those watches, the Seiko watches like the Seiko Sumo. It's a bigger case, thinner bracelet. But the thing that's different about the Spork bracelet that comes on the watch versus the Sumo is that you have this taper that happens with the bracelet, which is nice. It's like one of those flare outs past the end link, and it flares out and then it comes in. So it's 20 to 20. But because it flares out, it looks perfect on this case. You guys can see that, right? It's like those ribbed old Seiko straps that have the punch out too. It looks very similar, except it's in a metal bracelet. Okay. Now the watch is very, very thin for its size. As you can see, 13.5 millimeters, and it has a hardlex crystal, although this particular watch does have a sapphire crystal, and it was installed before I got it. That's kind of nice to have. I was going to do it anyway. And matter of fact, if you go to, I believe it's Yoboki's, they actually have crystals and DLC, not aluminum, DLC inserts if you want to replace the insert. If you ever find a Spork and you want to know, they do, I believe it's Yoboki's, pretty sure, that carries them. The nice thing about for me, the aluminum bezel inserts, you can see this one is a little damaged and it's had a little bit of wear and tear, but I don't mind the patina on aluminum bezel inserts. That's me personally. That's why I'm not a huge fan of the ceramic inserts on every single new or watch. I just don't, I'm not a fan of that. I know your watch will look newer for, a longer period of time, but for me, I like a patina. I enjoy having a watch that shows a little bit of wear on it. So for me, you can see its age, and I think it looks pretty and classy. Okay. Now, when you're looking at the case, what you're gonna notice is you got this nice polished sides here. Nice brushing across the top. And it matches perfectly with the bracelet itself. You have that old Seiko bracelet with the diver's extension right here. See the old diver's extension? You guys know how to use that, right? You can pop it open with your finger. It just locks back like so. Okay. And the case is really very well made, and it is very, very hefty. Matter of fact, I'll share with you guys the weight here momentarily. Now, you might be thinking, well, Blake, what's the lug to lug? The lug to lug is 50 millimeters, if I'm not mistaken. Is just at 50. Okay, we have nice drilled lug holes. If you decide to wear this without the bracelet, it looks a little funnier because the case is so big when you put just a NATO on or you put it on a different strap. So just keep that in mind, because with the bigger case, smaller lug to lug distance, it's gonna look a little weirder when you have just that thin strap on there with such a huge watch head. It will remind you like one of those Bell and Ross, like the instrument panel looking watches as well. Now, the reason why they call this a Spork, if you guys haven't figured that one out, and I'm sure there's some people who are like, what is a Spork? Because it's a mix between a diver and a pilot watch. It's got the normal dial layout of a pilot's watch with sword hands and the contrast between the white hands and the black dial. It's very legible, but then you have a 120 click Seiko bezel. Now, listen to this. Do you know what it sounds like? Sounds like this. On a softer scale. But it feels like an ever-built type of wrench. That's exactly how this watch feels. The watch feels like a socket wrench. It really does. If you were wondering why I had that on the desk right now. All right, so the watch itself is a really, really hefty beast. Let's go ahead and grab the scale. And you guys can see the scale here. Turn that on. And you can see the watch with a full bracelet. Well, not a full bracelet, with the bracelet to a 1.7 1/4 inch wrist is 195 grams. So this is not an insignificant watch. Matter of fact, if you want to see the difference between an SKX 009 with the stock Jubilee, it's 140 grams. So you can see the weight difference. I mean, you're talking about another, 30% more of watch on your wrist than what you would have on an SKX, okay? So just some of the differences. Matter of fact, if you want to see the SKX matched up to the Seiko Spork, hopefully this will give you a better clue of what you would expect with the watch. Many of you know about the SKX. You either have an SKX or a homage to an SKX, and you can see how different the cases look. Hopefully that gives you a little bit better idea of what you're dealing with. Now, because the case has a 4 o'clock crown, it wears very comfortable. And because the watch has such nice curved finishings, it really, if you don't mind the weight on your wrist, it's a very comfortable watch, and because it's so slim as well. But let's talk about a few of the things that people just don't tell you when you get a Spork. So first and foremost, the grooves under the case back. If you take a look at that case back, take a look at the grooves underneath there. Can you imagine the gunk that gets stuck in here? Let me be the first to tell you is, oh my God, the amount of stuff that gets stuck in there is pretty gross. The next thing that they don't tell you is this watch is actually got the 4R15, which is actually a 50-hour power reserve. And I don't know a lot about the movement, but I think it was not in a lot of Seiko watches, and it was used very short term. And it's got a nice little 50-hour power reserve. Now, the third thing that they don't tell you about this watch, it was only about a 2-year limited run from what I understand. This watch was made in 2009 to approximately 2011. And that's from the research I've done on the watch. That's why they're so rare, is because it was a model that was popular in a sense, because a lot of people really liked the Seiko dive watches, and they loved the fact that this one was a mix between a dive watch and a pilot watch. But then they discontinued. They never even brought it back. And because of that, this watch has, gotten this cult following popularity over the years. And I'm telling you guys, if you can find one, it's pretty awesome. Now, the fourth thing that no one really tells you about this watch is when I was looking for a Spork, I had assumed that there was the SRP043K was the only version out there. And I looked, I've been hunting for a Seiko Spork, one that was within my price parameters, the one that was finished well enough. I didn't want to get one that was too beat up. And I'd always assumed the K version was the only version available. And then a J version popped up, the one that you're seeing here. Now the J version, what you'll notice is over here by the 5 o'clock, the dial, it does say made in Japan over by the 6 o'clock indice. Now go on the internet, surf around, try looking at all the Seiko Spork pictures. You will not see that made in on very many dials, on very many pictures. Matter of fact, I was searching around just recently and I wasn't able to find any. So the J version, I had always been under the assumption there was only K versions of the Seiko Spork, but there are J versions out there. Boom, boom. You're looking at one, which is pretty amazing. Now, this watch also has 200 meters of water resistance. And when you have a pilot watch / diver with 120 click bezel, reminds you of a lot of those sins that you see out there, right? And that's why, for me, everybody has a sin. I love sins. Don't get me wrong. I've owned a sin. I love Damascos. But to have a Seiko Spork is something really unique and really special. So let me put it on my wrist for you, so you can see what it looks like on the wrist. Now this is the, and you guys have probably seen some B-roll footage anyway. Wearing my Borealis today. This is the 300 Estoril. Put that out here. And this is the Seiko Spork. And you can see it on my wrist. And it is heavy, it's beastly, and gosh dang it, is it beautiful. It is comfortable. That's on a 7¼ inch wrist. And I would say because of the, lug to lug that you see here, and the case diameter, yeah, if you have below a 7 inch wrist, maybe 6¾ inch wrist, you probably need to really, take a look and see if you're comfortable wearing such a big and heavy watch. But if you have over a 7 inch wrist, this is basically what it's going to look like. And it is pretty, it's heavy, it's beautiful, and it's bold. So guys, if you can get your hands on one of these, I'd recommend it. And if you like these types of videos and you like to see videos and reviews of watches you're not going to see all the time, you're in the right spot. You're at the Three Hand Hunter channel, and I hunt for watches. And if you like this content, make sure you subscribe and like the video if you like it, because it really does help me grow the video. I'm trying to grow the channel because I want to continue to take you down my watch journey and find some of these rare and unique pieces. And if you've made it this far, let me introduce myself. My name is Blake. I'm a bit of a watchaholic. If you've made it this far, you probably are one too. So thanks for hanging with me today, and I'll see you guys in the next video.